Hey y'all, I'm turning everyone on. Welcome to Faith in Politics. Hey y'all, welcome to Faith in Politics with me, Eileen. I'm giving everyone a chance to pop on. And y'all know sometimes YouTube wants to play with me. But while we give it a minute to start up, I just want to say good morning. I do that all the time. It is not morning, it is good afternoon. And I'm listening to the bells chime. Good afternoon, y'all. Welcome to Faith and Politics with me, Eileen. I'm really excited about today's show, today's podcast. It is episode 24. So if you've missed 1 through 23, go back on everywhere you podcast. You can listen on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, anywhere that you podcast, we are there. I'm on Amazon Music. I'm on Samsung. I'm really kind of everywhere you podcast. So we want to make sure that you tap in there. If you have not gotten any emails from us or you have not gotten any SMS text messages, that means you did not participate in Solution Saturday. So that's what the conversation is going to be about today. We sent out a survey to residents. And so we want to listen to residents. We want to hear what you have to say about what's going on in New Orleans. And we want to take our solutions, ideas, concerns to our leadership and get some actionable results because we're tired of being ignored. So if you didn't get an email or a text message, text join and your email to 504 399 4380. Text join and your email to 504 399 4380. And that will allow you to participate in faith and politics. What we want to do is just engage with the public, see what's going on, so therefore we can take the information, bring it to our leaders, and we can get hopefully some correction to some of the stuff that's going around the city. So you can always meet me here Tuesdays at 12. I'm going to be having a live show. I'm live on Instagram, Twitter, and X, and also YouTube when it wants to act right. I'm also visually on those. Like I said, I am available audio. Oh, there it is. YouTube popped up. Welcome, YouTube. So audio version, we are available, like I said, everywhere you podcast. And you can go to faithandpoliticstoday.podbean.com. There you can get a list of all of the episodes, but all of the episodes are on Apple if you have a iPhone or anything like that. So before I pop in, if you're interested in any partnerships, sponsorships, questions, concerns, community suggestions, solutions, we want to hear them all. You can email us at faithandpoliticstoday@gmail.com. So let's jump into today's topic because it's very interesting. Today's topic is listen to residents. Issues and solutions. And that's what we did. Like I said, we put out a survey. I hope you participate. Solution Saturdays, that's what we call it. And so every Saturday, we will be sending out some information to residents to hear what's going on with your neighborhoods, and we're looking for solutions. So that's what it's all about. And so with that being said, I want to read the responses, and I am going to kind of consolidate them because I don't want to give anyone's names away. And, there were so many, so I consolidated all of the top responses. And so I'm going to give them back to you so we can see what's going on in the city of New Orleans and, really listen to residents, because I feel like that's an art that has been lost in the city. We are not listening to our residents. And actually, before I pop into that, when I was looking at the news this morning, and y'all, I don't watch the news. I read my news for lots of purposes, but I think y'all should think about that. Make sure you read your news, get it from multiple sources, not just like your major news outlets. Please read independent. A lot of our media in New Orleans is swayed one way or the other. And I'm just being honest. I learned that myself firsthand during the recall that all news is not created equally. And so I just urge you to get your news sources from multiple spots and then make a decision for yourself rather than be honestly spoon-fed talking points. Having worked in communications for the city of New Orleans and in politics for years, a lot of what you get are talking points that just, kind of trickle down, and that's not how we need to be, judging people as well as making our decisions. So with that being said, I think a lot of residents will find this interesting that on Monday there was a meeting at the French Quarter Management District, and it was a board meeting for security and enforcement. And at that meeting, one of the board members brought up that there was a private meeting before Super Bowl in which the mayor brought up to people who were there. And this was a question she gave to them. How safe does everyone want to be, and how much are you willing to sacrifice to be that safe? And she raised that question in regard to closing Bourbon Street off to vehicles following the New Year's terror attack. And she is expected to make that decision after Mardi Gras. With that being said, a lot of the members were a bit frustrated because they didn't have a say and don't feel like they're going to have a say in what's going on. They feel like they have been left out of the conversation, and that administration is not reaching out to residents, and it's not listening to residents. And so with that being said, it's kind of funny that this is what our topic was today, because I had no idea that happened. But that is what's happening right now. There's a full conversation whether to shut down the French Quarter entirely and make it fully walkable. From my understanding, when she asked everyone at the meeting if they wanted it to be 24/7, none of them raised their hands that they wanted that to be the case. So I don't know how it's going to go. Of course, the mayor makes the final decision, but we know how our trash decision was made with only having one day of trash pickup for the entire city. I don't recall being asked. Were y'all asked? And so that's a lot of, I feel that there's a disconnect because the administration isn't asking the residents for their 2 cents before they enact it. And as we remember in our last episode, we talked about the three branches of government. And so we need, and who is the mayor's boss? That was 2 episodes ago, because a lot of people thought that the governor was the mayor's boss, but the residents of New Orleans are the mayor's boss. And so I just want to remind all of our residents that you are the mayor's boss. And so if we don't have our voices and our concerns, if we don't lift them up to that level, then they're never going to be heard. And if at this point we're just kind of been ignored. And so a lot of residents are over it. And I heard that in our survey. So it was 4 questions. I'm about to jump right in and give you the questions and give you the answers, and let's discuss it. So on Solution Saturday, we asked you about our city's problems and asked you for solutions. So today we're going to review a summary of responses. Well, many residents feel ignored, and that's why they do not participate in the civic engagement process. And so I just really feel it's important that we listen to our neighbors and present these issues to leadership so we can get some actionable results and bring some faith back in politics, because it's a hot mess. And if we don't say anything, then it's never going to happen. So I encourage everyone to speak up in their spheres of influence so that we can do this together, because none of us know everything, but all of us can take a piece and move forward together. So the first question was, what issues irk you about New Orleans and what's your solution? So I'm going to just kind of bullet them because I did a summary, because I didn't want to make anyone's, I'm making this all anonymous and nobody's name or anything like that will ever be told. So these were the issues that residents put at the forefront. Crooked politicians and the friends and families' economic access. Residents are over the gatekeeping in the city of New Orleans. The next bullet was crimes are falsely recorded or falsely recategorized as to not scare away tourists. So residents are saying that crimes are being falsely recorded or falsely recategorized as to not scare away tourists, but they're saying it is skewing our results and it's making us look like we've done some things in some areas where we have not, and they are not happy about it. The city only cleans up the French Quarter and Claiborne Underpass for tourists. Residents are not happy that the French Quarter and the city seems to only get cleaned up when it's for tourists. They said, well, what about us? We are here spending our tax dollars. Why aren't these things done for us? The next one was the mayor's decision to renege on the school system settlement. Many people understand that the school system was in a bind clearly because of their mismanagement, but at this point, they want it handled because they want the children to be taken care of. Bottom line, they are not happy that the mayor's decision to renege on the school system, and they have kind of created fear within the city with regard to residents and our children. The next one was the mayor's personal spending on things that don't help the city directly. So people are upset about the mismanagement of funds in the city, especially with administration now saying that the city is lacking funds for certain things, i.e., helping our children. And they are disgusted that the mayor's spending has been on things other than to help our children if we are really in a financial situation. The next one was the mayor's graph. And I think that kind of goes hands in hand, but this was more overall as an idea. The mayor's graph, they said the compensation for services performed in official manner. They're saying that the mayor is the mayor and she is supposed to be doing these duties. Why are there compensation for her doing what she's actually supposed to be doing? So people are frustrated behind that. The next one was potholes and crumbling infrastructure, streets and sidewalks. Now, y'all know I consolidated that because a lot of people said that. So, potholes, crumbling infrastructure, busted up streets and sidewalks in the French Quarter and the city in general. You know, we do have a large population who walks and bikes in certain areas of the cities. And they're like the streets are busted up. People who are in maybe handicap or have walking conditions or things like that, are having problems using sidewalks, and they're like it's ridiculous. And it's not just in the French Quarter or one area of the city. We're hearing this all the way into the Ninth Ward and New Orleans East. So it really is across the city. They're saying some areas of the city, they feel like crime is rampant and they still do not feel safe, and they want to feel safe in their neighborhoods. The next one was they feel like in the survey was underfunded schools and the education system. Underfunded schools and the education system. Uh, wow, that's a whole show, y'all. We're gonna have a show and break down some of these as we go through this. So make sure you stay tuned to Faith and Politics because this will be interesting. We have three more issues, and then we're going to hit the solutions. So the next issue was undermanned New Orleans Police Department. Undermanned New Orleans Police Department. People are frustrated that the New Orleans Police Department has been undermanned for all of these years, and they're like, "What is the deal? What is the deal? Why aren't we moving forward in this?" And they want answers. They want the administration to come forth and explain what's going on and what they're doing to change these things. The last two, trash throughout the city. They said the city is dirty as well as the trash pickup. They are not pleased with the 1-day pickup. And last but not least, no enforcement of traffic laws. There were residents who were very upset about cars with loud music going into neighborhoods and things of that sort. And so those were the issues. So I'm going to run down them really quickly. The issues that were discussed were crooked politicians and their friends and family economic access. They were over gatekeeping. They're over crimes that are falsely recorded or falsely recategorized. Only cleanup of the French Quarter and Claiborne for tourists and not for residents. They're upset about the mayor's decision to renege on the school system. The mayor's personal spending on things that don't help the city. Mayor getting compensated for services performed that she's supposed to be doing anyway. Residents are upset about potholes, crumbling infrastructure, streets and sidewalks in the French Quarter and across the city. Crime, they do not feel safe. Underfunded schools and education system, undermanned New Orleans Police Department, trash throughout the city, and enforcement of traffic laws. Now, these are the solutions that residents brought up with regard to the question. And again, the question was, what issues irk you about New Orleans and what are your solutions? So these are the solutions. Let me count the solutions. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So there's a list of 9. And like I said, I consolidated them so I can get them all in. So the solutions that were offered by our residents were: number 1, we need to elect leaders with a community proven track record and not people who are part of the harm that has come to our community. So residents are kind of over our current leadership. They are saying that they do not have faith in our current leadership because they feel like they have been a part of the problem. So they're looking for community members to step up. So if you're a community member and you're hearing this, I think this should be encouraging for you. They are asking for more community members to speak up and step out. And so, hey, y'all, let's do it. Speak out and step out. We're asking everyone to speak out and step out in their sphere of influence. You know what's going on in maybe financial or education or housing or homelessness. And if that's your sphere, speak out. That's what we're calling everybody to do. The next solution was residents want their taxes to be allocated correctly and effectively to actually fix some of our problems. So residents are not feeling like their tax dollars are actually going to fix the problems of the city of New Orleans, and they're frustrated behind it. And I would be too. You're paying all these taxes, and it's tax season right now, right? And everybody is paying their property taxes. And are you feeling like it's moving in the direction, your tax dollars are moving in the direction to actually fix things in the city? Well, lots of residents don't. The next solution was the residents want to fund safety and permits properly and add more inspectors so buildings don't fall down across the city, as well as we keep our residents safe. So the residents really want our safety and permits to be properly funded and for more inspectors to be added. So let's talk to them about it. We're gonna present these to our leadership and see what they say. The next point and solution that the residents gave were they want a streamlined permitting process. They say the process is taking too long, and actually we just saw a news not article, a news report on that. It was on Channel 6 and Channel 4 that I saw that. The safety and permits are actually having a backup in their process since August, y'all, August of last year. So if you are waiting for a permit, you might be waiting. You may need to go down there and shake some trees, knock on some doors, because they said the permitting process is backed up since August 2024. Special. The next solution was manage project management better so the infrastructure projects flow to completion. Hallelujah. Yes, I 100% agree with this. We need better project management in our roads and project and public works department. They want better project management so that our infrastructure projects flow to completion and aren't sitting around for 6 months to a year or 2 months or 3 weeks or whatever it is. They want the infrastructure projects to flow so that you know when it's going to begin and when it's going to end, and it's not just hanging around for a year. And I think Oak Street would really appreciate that right now, because that even that PJ's closed down, and that was kind of close to my heart because when I was in high school, y'all, I used to pop over there. We used to get bagels and stuff and granitas before we went to Ursuline. Hey, shout out UA. But yeah, so we need a management project management better project management in our public works so that our infrastructure projects move forward. This was one person's solution. The mayor needs to resign. Y'all, I don't know if that's going to happen, but that was the solution that was offered. The next solution was, and I really love this one. It's near and dear to my heart as well. And we will definitely be speaking about this. More youth activities. Residents are asking for more youth activities and programming to prepare our children for the future and to get their mind right. When you have an idle mind, it's the devil's playground, right? And so the residents are asking for more youth activities and programming to prepare them for their futures. And the last two solutions were better funded and budgeted schools with accountable leaders. So that is across the board. I will say that we did just have elections for our school board. It was only one district that was in the race, though. So, not in the race, that was in the runoff recently, but we just hired our new school board officials. So we really need to pay attention because they're going to be there for a minute, and we need to hold them accountable. So if you see something, say something. Remember, that was our last time. That's what we really need to do right now. We need to see something and say something, and we need to hold them to task for what they say they're going to do. And clearly, they have not been doing their accounting well for the past couple of years. Them or the city, to be perfectly honest, because they were it was over $100 million that the city owed the school district. Why? It's because there was a millage. And so the city was collecting the money and then giving it to the school board, and that to fund the school board. But over the years, the city of New Orleans was not giving all of the money that was deemed to the school board. So the school board was like, "Hey, this is a problem. We want our money." So a couple years ago, they sued the city, and so it had been in litigation. And so while it was in litigation, the school board came into their own accounting issues for the past 2 years and found out what they were 34, 36. I get my numbers mixed up because there's multiple things. They were like 30 some thousand dollars, million dollars, I'm sorry, $36 million in the hole. And so the head of the school board used to work for the council. And so she was like, "Hey, seems like a nice time that we can wrap all of this up for everybody." So they tried to create a deal that was best for the youth in the city of New Orleans. The CAO agreed to it. And when it had a press conference and everything, the first payment was due December 31st. It did not happen. Come to find out, maybe almost a month later, the mayor said that she didn't agree with it. Now they're in court. So we will not get an answer on that. I believe it's March 25th. So we will look out for that. And when we have an answer regarding the school board and if the city is going to be required to pay the school board back with the agreed funds, we will find out at the end of March. So everybody hold your breath. Our children are in limbo, unfortunately. And last but not least, the solution was build the New Orleans Police Department and build morale and better train our officers. So the residents are really concerned about our officers. They're really concerned about their morale, and they're really concerned about them being stretched thin. And with us going into Mardi Gras season, I know how much that they they work our officers during this time. So shout out to NOPD. We absolutely love you, and we need to do better for them by electing better leadership for them. We can't be mad if we don't give them better leadership. It comes down to us. So the next question, y'all will find this interesting because I was not prepared for this answer, but it was very intriguing. So the next question, and this was question 2 of 4. The next question was, which departments in the city of New Orleans need the most attention? So on Solution Saturday, we sent out a survey and we asked residents, which department in the city of New Orleans do you feel needs the most attention? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I gave you the top 6 and in the order of attention. So the first department they said needs the most attention is the mayor's office. I'm not kidding. If I could show y'all the answers, I would, but that's the truth. They said the mayor's office needs the most attention. The second city department that the residents said needs the most attention is the law department. Would y'all have guessed that? I honestly would not have. But the residents feel that the law department of the city of New Orleans needs an overhaul. They're like, what's going on over there? And they need some help. So that was the second office that they felt needed the most attention. The next office was safety and permits. I think you got that with all of the responses with regard with what their issues and solutions were in the city. So the third department that they felt needed the most attention was safety and permits. The fourth department was parking and traffic enforcement. So they felt like the department that handles parking and traffic enforcement needs more attention. They feel like it is overbearing in the city. They do not like the camera speed traps, and they're kind of over it. They felt like the mayor ran on that to become mayor, and she has not come through with that request. And so residents are not happy. The fifth department that they feel needs attention isn't a department. It is a board, but the mayor leads this board. It is Sewage and Water Board. Residents are over it. They're over the late bills. They're over the mix match. They're over it entirely. They feel like Sewage and Water Board needs attention. And last but not least, I'm sure y'all can all gather this one, NOPD. They feel like the NOPD needs attention. They feel like it's up and down and it needs more stability. They are over it and they want some attention there. So which departments in the city needs the most attention? 1 through 6 was the mayor's office, the law department, safety and permits, parking and traffic enforcement, sewage and water board, and NOPD. So This is what your neighbors think. And I think it's really important for us to sometimes get out of our bubble and to listen to our neighbors so that we know what's going on in the city and, get a good temperature for what's going on so that we can all work together to move it forward. So our third question, y'all are going to love these. Do you feel like our elected leaders are representing us well? And what do you want to see from your elected leaders? So I broke this down just to 5 points because a lot of people were kind of repeating the same answers. So with regard to, do residents feel like their elected leaders are representing us well? The resounding answer was no. People do not feel like our elected leaders are representing us well. I did have a couple that said they do not approve of the mayor, but they do approve of the city council. So that was also a response as well that was weighted. So the next was residents feel like we need transparency and equal economic opportunities. I've been hearing this throughout a lot of the responses. Residents feel like there's a lot of gatekeeping in New Orleans. Do y'all feel like that? They feel like if you don't know anybody, you're not going to get anything done and you're not going to get anywhere. So they are feeling like it is a big problem and they're over it. They're like, over the elite versus the people, and they're feeling like that's how New Orleans has become and we need to break the cycle. Number 3, residents want to see results and action, not lip service. They're over the press conferences, they're over the news articles, they're over everything. They're like, stop talking and do something. Want to see action. They want to see action in their everyday lives. This administration ran on, taking care of the low-hanging fruit, and they do not feel like the low-hanging fruit in the city is being taken care of. They're like, it's just not happening, and they're over it. Oh, funny. The next one was stop the gatekeeping. So as you see, that is a trend that residents do not like. And last but not least, they said they want the city council to actually hold the mayor accountable with their oversight authority. So if you do not know, the city council has oversight over the departments. They do not run the departments. The mayor runs every department in the city of New Orleans. She runs the executive branch. The executive branch is over every department in the city of New Orleans. So the mayor runs every department. The city council has oversight approval. So they can call them to task and say, hey, director of libraries, we have questions for you. We need you to come sit down and tell us what the deal is. So that's the difference between the city council and the mayor. The city council has oversight, but they can't make them do anything. The mayor has the ability to make them do something. So you need to know who does what so that you can hold the correct person accountable. And last but not least, I asked, what one thing, if changed, would make your life easier in New Orleans? And I think that's a reasonable question because if everybody's like, if I can do one thing, like just one thing, what is one thing? If the leaders did one thing to make New Orleans better for you, that would make your life easier, what would it be? Y'all, it's crazy. Transparency in government is number one. People do not feel like they're being truthful. And to be perfectly honest, they're not. It's crazy because we had this conversation in 2022 when we did the recall. And the fact that we still don't have transparency is nuts. But the number one thing was transparency in government. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So there were 7 points for this one. So the first point was transparency in government. The second point was information on what's happening in city government. And that goes hand in hand, but I did want to differentiate them because I was in communications for the city of New Orleans, and I can just be honest, there's a difference. Of course, I want to say the team that I was working with was the best. Of course, I'm going to say that, but I do see a difference in the level of information that is given to the community, and the interactions just is not there. There used to be town halls. There used to be, maybe surveys or online where you could give your 2 cents. There's none of that. And so residents are feeling like they do not hear from the city of New Orleans, and the city of New Orleans are not hearing them, and they do not know what's going on, and they are not getting information. If y'all don't know, you can sign up for emails in the city of New Orleans. You can go on NOLA uh, NOLA.gov. At the bottom of it, you can register and subscribe for city emails. You can go there and you can check off which departments you want information from. You can get it from everybody. I do not suggest that because you will be getting a litany of emails every day. But you can get information, like say you want to know about, the traffic in your neighborhood or the road work in your neighborhood. You can click that. If you're interested in libraries, you can click information for libraries. If you're interested in like transportation issues, you can click that. So you can go on to NOLA.gov, and you can choose which departments you want information from. So I would go suggest and encourage everyone to go subscribe to the New Orleans email and their press releases, and so that you can get more information. It is unfortunate that the only way that they send information is by email. I believe, we have so many people with a phone. I believe that we should change that and really transfer it so that people can get that information by text message. That's my 2 cents. That would be my solution, because you have more people in this world now with a cell phone than a toothbrush. You have 3 phones, but maybe 1 or 2 toothbrushes, right? So with that being the case, I think we should make it easier for people to get information, because you have a lot of people who don't have an email. Like I said, having worked in communication, that was one of the things we did while we were there. We had Reconnect NOLA, and we tried to meet residents where they were and get them signed up with emails, or just help them learn how to get it. We have a lot of our mature and senior uh, neighbors who just don't have that ability, but they do have a phone. And so if they could get that information on their phone or text it, I think that would be helpful. So I just wanted to throw that tidbit in for any of you, because you said it would make your life easier. So hopefully, that was a little tidbit that can make your life easier. Next was to prosecute criminals, even the elected ones. Y'all, I was tripped out while I was reading the residents' responses, but that was number 3. The residents want our criminals actually prosecuted, and even if they're elected, they want them prosecuted too. Number 4 was lower insurance rates, car and home. So the residents want lower insurance rates. They said if that's one thing that could make our life easier in New Orleans, would be that. And so, y'all, that's a whole nother show. So I'd have to do some research and put that together, but I will definitely do some research on that for y'all, because that's more of, the insurance commissioner, and they're going through all their issues right now at the state level. But with regard to that, there are things that the city of New Orleans could be doing to do those things. So we will be looking at that. Number 5, take down the school zone cameras. Residents are over it. And what's crazy, y'all, and I don't know if I read all kind of stuff. So I read so y'all don't have to. So when the administration said that we were low on funds, do y'all know why they said we were low on funds? If you don't, I'm about to tell you now. So the city of New Orleans said that we are low on funds because the traffic cameras are only turned on during school hours. Yep, I'm going to let that drop for you and let that marinate. They're saying New Orleans is in a hole. This is the administration. The city council has not confirmed this. So this is what the administration is saying. They say New Orleans is in a hole because we only allow the traffic cameras to be on during school hours. And they suggest, or I'm guessing that implying that they should be on 24/7 so that more money can come into the city. So basically they're saying they just want to tax us more. They just want to catch you. Like paying for a $1,500 fix for your car for hitting a pothole or anything else or whatever it is, is enough. Because we're talking about lowering insurance rates. So some people like to just pay for an issue rather than it go to their insurance, right? But if you keep hitting these potholes or you keep having windows broken, eventually it affects your insurance rates, right? So I thought that was interesting, especially because that's something that this administration ran on. If y'all remember, they ran on taking down the school zone cameras. Are the school zone cameras down? No, the happy medium was to have them on just during school hours. But they're saying that because we have them on only during school hours, that we have lost a significant amount of funds. So, and the last 2 were, what are one things that could be changed to make your life easier in New Orleans? Number 6, traffic enforcement. They feel like we have traffic issues in New Orleans, and some residents want the traffic issues fixed. And last but not least, I think this is kind of just apparent at this point, responsive elected officials. On a basic, they want our elected officials to be responsive to the residents. So I'm going to wrap that up again. What one thing, if change, would make your life easier in New Orleans? Transparency in government, information on what's happening in city government on a regular, prosecute criminals, even the elected ones, lower insurance rates, car and home, take down the school zone cameras, have efficient traffic enforcement, and have responsive elected officials. So these were the responses that we received from the residents with regard to the Solution Saturdays. So if you did not participate, we would love for you to still participate. You can go onto all of the links or wherever you're watching. Follow us on social media at Faith in Politics or at Faith in Politics Today, depending on if you're at Instagram, Twitter, or Facebook, or X, or TikTok, because we're at all of those. You can go into the website and just click, and I give information on all of that on how to participate. Because we need to hear from you. We cannot move New Orleans forward without the residents being involved and without the residents engaging. We need to hear from you. And because our administration has not been reaching out to residents, we have found that residents aren't engaged in the civic process. They feel like they've been ignored so long that they're disenfranchised, to be perfectly honest. And it's not even one category of resident or like one area of the city. It is residents across the board that are disenfranchised because they do not feel like they're heard. They do not feel like they're listened to. So that's part of what Faith in Politics is all about. That's really kind of why I did this. I wanted to listen to residents. I want to hear what you had to say. And I wanted to know what you felt like our most pressing issues were, so that we can consolidate those and bring them forth to our leaders. I'm going to really go over these, and also throughout these next episodes, I'm going to break down what your concerns were and how and which departments we need to go to get effective change. So we're going to be reviewing public works. We're going to be reviewing sewage and water board. We're going to be reviewing our communications department. Is New Orleans doing the best job it can to communicate with its residents with what's going on? We're their boss. And I think along the way that a lot of our elected leaders forgot that we're their boss. I grew up in politics, and my dad was an elected official. In the middle of the night, people would call him. He would go leave and pick up, a prescription and drop it off at somebody's house. He was, helping with a school or uniforms or whatever it may be. But I remember we did all the Martin Luther King Day marches. And I remember when we used to have a Martin Luther King parade in the city of New Orleans. I just have to be honest. I think it's interesting that we have certain parades in the month of June, but we don't have parades for, Black History Month. I think we should also do it for our leaders in New Orleans who have spoken out and created such differences for us. New Orleans is a predominantly Black city. I mean, it's dwindling, but we are. And there's so much of our culture that is embraced, yet we aren't seeing all of the results. And I don't just mean for the Black community, but I do hear the Black community really speaking up in a way of pain. But I must say this, are we really looking with our eyes open? Because we have a mayor that looks like us. So at some point, we have to stop looking at color and look at effectiveness. We can love a person all we want. They can be wonderful, they can be friendly, they can be amazing, but that doesn't mean that their skill set is what we need for a certain position. And I believe that's where we are, and that's kind of where we've been. We can love a person, but know that their skill set does not fit a position. And so I think that's what we really found. And I feel like that's what a lot of New Orleanians are struggling with. Just like you can love your cousin, but know that they shouldn't be running your business, right? Well, that's the case. Like, you can care about somebody, but you know that they aren't the person for the job. And so when we stepped forward with the recall, that was our message. We feel like our message got hijacked by the news. They had a much louder megaphone than we did, but it is what it is. And so it's time to get back to the people. It's time to get back to listening to the people and listening to the residents. And so that's what today's podcast was all about. That's what this episode was about. It was about listening to the residents. What are your ideas? What are your solutions? And we want you to participate. So with that being said, I want to remind you, this is Faith in Politics. To join and to participate, all you got to do, y'all, I try to make it really easy, is text. It's on your phone. You're probably on it now. So write this down. Text join, the word join, and your email. So for instance, if I were doing it and I was doing it as Faith in Politics, I put join faithinpoliticstoday@gmail.com and I'd press send. And I would send it to 504-399-4380. That is 504-399-4380. So to participate in the text, text join and your email. Join in your email to 504-399-4380. And that's all it takes. You will get an immediate response back just to let you know that you have been accepted and everything that went through properly. We do meet up here Tuesdays at noon to share what we've talked about in the previous week so that we can just make sure that the information is available. It is available on YouTube. It is available on Apple, on Google. It is available on Amazon, Samsung, everywhere that you podcast. Faith in Politics is there. I tried to make it as easy as possible as I could to make sure I just meet people where they are, because most people are on their phone. And so if you can tap in at noon, that's great. If you can't, you can always listen later, because we need to really start engaging. And with that being said, Faith in Politics isn't just about one day. It is a week kind of a thing. And so if you can't tap in on Tuesdays, there's always another day of the week that you can do that. On Wednesdays, we have Zooms and we have meetups. And on those, we kind of have one-on-one. I try to do them like kind of small, maybe like 2 or 3 to maybe 5 people, no more than 10 at a time. And we're going to meet and have just conversation, like what's going on in your neighborhood? What are your concerns? And if you want to be anonymous, you absolutely can be. You can just call in. You do not have to do the video, and we can just hear your voice, and you can give your 2 cents on what's going on in the city. And if you want something rectified, or you want a solution to something, or you're like, how does this work? How do I get information about this? Let us know what you're interested in, and then we will do an episode or drop the information for you. So that's what it's all about. It is to make sure that we can have a line of communication where residents are heard, because it's really important. Next is our Thursdays. We have a Thursday power hour of prayer. If you didn't know, I walk with the Lord. I am a believer, a Christian, and it's very important to me. And I believe the city of New Orleans is also under spiritual warfare. And so with that being said, praying for the city is vital. And I believe we need all of our intercessors, kingdom people, and everybody to come together to move the city forward and to do what we need to do so God can do what he needs to do. And with that being said, you can tap in on Thursdays the same way by texting join in your email to 504-399-4380. Just to let you know, on Tuesdays, I will send an email blast, and it gives all the information for each day of the week. And so that's why it's important for you to join with that email, because it'll give you the information of what's going on that week. I don't like to overburden people. I like to send that one email, and then you can kind of do what you need the rest of your week. We do not bombard with emails. And then last but not least, Solution Saturdays, which is what we're discussing now. We will send surveys, polls, or, just questions to find out what's going on, what you're dealing with in the city, and how we can connect you to a source to make your life easier and just better living in the city. Because if we don't share information with each other, if we don't help each other, then it's never going to work. We cannot do this by ourselves. There's so much that has been broken over these last couple years, and it's going to take everybody pulling their load for us to make New Orleans the city that we know it can be. Of course, we love New Orleans, but I feel like it's it's a gem that kind of got a little dusty. You need to dust it off, and so that it can shine again. I just believe that New Orleans has the ability to do that, and I know what's going to happen. If you have been following me outside of this for the past couple years, you will know I have been delivering my prophecies online. I do walk with the Lord, and the Lord does release words from me. I do walk in the prophetic, and I've given warnings. I have felt like Noah for the past couple of years saying, repent, fast, pray, y'all, repent, fast, pray. But now we are seeing a lot of what the Lord had given us in 2022. So right under here, if you're following me anywhere, you can probably go online and you can see the prophecies. I dropped them yesterday because the Lord told me to. He was really not happy with New Orleans, and I'm just being honest. He's not happy with New Orleans. He says New Orleans is under judgment, and we are in the time of cleanse. And so that's what's going to happen. It was a 3-year process. I said that in 2022, and we're watching it play out. He has already rendered judgment. Now you're going to see the cleanse, and you're going to see people. The Lord said he's going to be removing and replacing people. And we've already seen a trickle of that coming in. If you've been paying attention, a lot of directors in certain departments have been removed and replaced. And you're actually seeing that in our clergy in the city of New Orleans right now with regard to the Archbishop. If you didn't know, he had turned 75, so he has to be retiring out. He asked to stay through the bankruptcy process and the abuse case. And believe I don't know if the Pope has given him an answer on that. They did not say that publicly, but you see what's going down with the Catholic Church and the Second Harvest Food and just things like that. They are trying to decrease so they can have a more effective church. But the Lord said that he was going to be removing and replacing and revealing correction. And I absolutely 100% believe that that is what he's doing on the Catholic Church in New Orleans right now. So I believe that's what the Archbishop is going through, as well as a lot of our elected leaders. You do know that our mayor is under federal investigation. And so that is also part of judgment. When you're outside of the will of the Lord, things happen. And if you have watched some of the past prophecies, I'm not going to go into all of that now. I get very specific with what the Lord said is going on in New Orleans and what altar is over New Orleans, and he's not happy about it. He is taking it down, and it's go time. So speak up and say something, because if the Lord has given you that, a lot of people are having dreams. A lot of people are seeing things differently, a new perspective. They're not really getting as infiltrated with the talking points of the parties. And for all of you to know, Faith in Politics is purple because that's my party. I'm Kingdom Party. I'm not red or blue. I do not associate fully with the Democratic Party because I do not agree with their entire platform, and I am not a Republican. I do not agree with their entire platform. I did grow up very Democratic. My family was big DNC donors, so we lived all that life. And I just feel like with my faith and how the Lord has renewed my mind, there are just a lot of things that don't coincide. And so he directed me to come out from under them and to walk with him alone and to be independent. And so here I am independent, and I offer that to each and every one of you. I think when we come out from the parties and we have our own voice, then we press upon them to actually listen to us, because when we're under their party and under their altar, they think we're just going to fall in line with whatever they say, and then they don't have to listen to us. We're just going to do whatever they want us to do. And that's what's been happening. I can just speak for my own culture. That's what's been happening in the Black culture, in my opinion, for years. We've just been going along to get along. And every time they promise us something, it does not happen. And so with, some of the answers, our residents want to see action, and I want to see action. And so therefore, I'm not going to be connected to either one of you. I want you to come to me and say, hey, this is why I want your vote. This is why I'm better than them. This is what I can offer you in your community, instead of pandering. I don't want you to just think you have my vote, because you don't. I want you to tell me what you're going to do for us and actually do it. So I want to put some bite into that. And I believe coming out from those parties, platforms, is a huge thing for us. And so I do encourage that for people to think independently and to not live by party politics, because It's really craziness. And once you're independent for a while, you totally see things differently because you're not, it's not like your best friend or, your mom and them that they talking about. You take it personally when they talk about whatever party you're affiliated. If you're Republican, you get mad when they talk about them. If you're Democrat, you get mad when you talk about them. But I'm like, you know, so we need to open our minds and really start looking through a different lens and not be pulled into the confusion, because I feel like a lot of times we are, with regard to our lives, with our politics that with our politics that affects our everyday lives. And let me explain why. Because we forgot that they are our, what's the best way to put it? Our elected officials have forgotten that we elected them, that we hired them. Like, they forget that after they have been in office. I don't want to say all of them, but some have forgotten that, and that we are the boss, the residents. It should be what residents want to happen. That's why we elect them, right? We elect them because we want them to be doing our business while we aren't there, right? So if we have to be at work, we expect our elected leaders to be doing stuff for us when we aren't there, right? That's why we elect them. And so if they're not doing what we've elected them to do, then what are they doing and why are they there? And so with faith in politics, we want to bring attention to the concerns of the resident on a basic. We're just tired of being ignored. So with that being said, I'm going to jump off here, but I did want to leave you again. If you're interested in participating, text join and your email to 504-399-4380. And so they said, someone said, why isn't there more discussion about the laws on the ballot within our culture? Well, I don't know. Great question. Because if you go back to my last 3 podcasts, and I'll actually read them out for you. I'm glad you said that. We started with, if you go to any of the online platforms, you will see that Faith in Politics, this has gotten more governmental with strictly government information on episodes 20, 21, 22, 23, and 24. So I'll go back and let you know. So if you're interested in straight political conversation and what's going on in the city of New Orleans, y'all need to go back and listen to episodes 20, 21, 22, 23, and this one is 24. And why I say that is in episode 20, I describe what a strong mayor system is. New Orleans has a strong mayor system. A lot of people don't necessarily understand what that is, but I break it down. And just to give you a comparison, Jefferson Parish has a different type of government. So with that being said, that's like, oh, aha, okay, there's a difference. So in episode 20, I break down what a strong mayor system is. And we need to understand that, because it changes everything. It changes your understanding of city government. It really does. In episode 21, we discuss the departments and who is responsible for which department in the city of New Orleans. And so I go through all the departments and I tell everyone who does what and who's responsible. Here's a clue. The mayor is over the executive branch, and she is responsible for all departments in the city of New Orleans. The city council has all oversight, which is why they can call them to the table and say, hey, we want to know about this. And actually, what a lot of people don't know is the mayor and the city council, they can have advisory committees. So if you have a concern in the city of New Orleans, and they can say, hey, let's get an advisory committee of residents to get what the residents get an understanding for the voice of the residents on this issue. And to be perfectly honest, I feel like it's being underutilized because we are not heard, and it's problematic. So if you didn't know, advisory committees are a thing. We just don't see enough of them. So that's what you'll learn in episode 21. Episode 22 was see something, say something. So y'all know a lot of during the Super Bowl, and actually now during Mario Kart, they're like, see something, say something, see something, say something. Well, guess what? We did that in 22. We saw something, we said something, and we feel like since that time, you haven't said anything, our leadership, in any capacity, whether it be the mayor or the city council or either one, to be perfectly honest, because if residents put forth, like, y'all, we had a list of like 40 some things. And so who was going to move them forward? And you can actually go online. They're still there. NOLATOya.gov. I mean, not NOLATOya.org. We paid for it for like 2 years. So it's still on there until I guess it'll get off by August. But we wrote a list. And even if you didn't want to say you know, supported the recall publicly, you could look at our list of requests saying, hey, this isn't being taken care of for years, and you can start knocking them off, right? But none of them picked up the baton to do that. And so honestly, I was watching to see who was going to be who is going to participate in the process. I did reach out to some that I know personally, and maybe I'll get into that later, but I was kind of shocked at the response because, as I said, I grew up in politics. So the 90% of our elected leaders, I know them personally. So to go through the recall and not have any public or private support from them was astounding. And I think the residents will know. And at some point, I will go through that. Not today, but there will be a day. I'm just letting you know there will be a day. And so that was 22. That was see something, say something. And then episode 24. Oh, then episode 23 was the 3 branches of government. So I go down to, so that goes to your question as well. I go into specifics of the executive branch, the legislative branch, and the judicial branch. I literally go into city charter and break down in summary what each department and what each branch of government is supposed to be doing, as well as what the governor does compared to what the mayor does. Because a lot of people thought the governor was the mayor's boss. Let me be clear. The governor is not the mayor's boss. When things aren't going on in the city of New Orleans, it is the mayor's responsibility. The governor has authority in New Orleans when it is a property or an entity or something like that that has a state or federal a connection. So let me give you an example. The Sewage and Water Board is a state entity. The mayor is the president of the board, but the Sewage and Water Board is a state entity. So therefore, the governor can have his 2 cents on Sewage and Water Board. That's why you saw him doing the deal with the city council, kind of working around the mayor because she wasn't helping. It is what it is. And FYI, we're getting a new leader, a director of Sewage and Water Board. He is resigning, and I don't know if you knew that he was making like $337,000 a year. Do you think he should be making that with the bills in the boil water? I'm just saying. Just anyway. Okay, another example, the Superdome. The Superdome is, if y'all know, it used to be the Louisiana Superdome. It was never the New Orleans Superdome. It's the Louisiana Superdome because it's a state entity. So the state has its 2 cents on what goes on in the Superdome. Another example, why could the governor come in and move the homeless? Well, the homeless were under the I-10, which is federal. It is federal under I-10. So therefore, the governor could come in and have his 2 cents with regard to that because it's federal. So that is why the governor could come in and do those things. The governor cannot just come into the city of New Orleans and run it. He can't do that because he can't. Now, he does have authority with regard to Louisiana State Police because they can go anywhere, right? They are the state police. New Orleans is in the state of Louisiana. So that's why he can have his 2 cents there as well. So I just wanted to give you a little tidbits about, who does what, and that's what those past couple episodes were on. So if you missed any of the past episodes, I'd say take a listen. Episode 20 was the strong mayor system. 21 was the departments in New Orleans. 22 was see something, say something. It was the recall list and what we said. Episode 23 was 3 branches of government. And today, episode 24 was listen to the residents, issues, and solutions. So that's what Faith and Politics is all about, y'all. It is about just listening to the residents. It is about consolidating our concerns and bringing it to our leadership. They clearly didn't hear us in 22. None of them picked up the baton to move it forward. And so I was like, well, let's try round 2. So we're going to speak up for the residents. We're going to say what we have to say. We're going to, they're all paying attention right about now because we have elections coming up. So with elections coming up, let's make sure our voices are heard so that we can get some change in the city of New Orleans. Because if we don't say something when we see something, nothing is ever going to change. And we need to know who to direct those concerns to. So that's what this is all about. And I just want to thank y'all for tuning in and just make sure, again, last but not least, I know I'm going to say it again and again and again. Text, join, and your email to 504-399-4380. And if you did not receive an email or a text message with the survey, that means you're not signed up. So I want you to sign up, and actually I want you to know that you can still participate in the survey. You can go to any of our platforms that are on social media, on X, on TikTok, on Instagram, on Facebook, on, and y'all, actually I'm on Red Note, I'm on Lemonade, and I'm on Fanbase. So you can go to all of those places and hit the link, and I want you, and actually LinkedIn as well. We're on LinkedIn. So if under Eileen Carter, it's not under Faith and Politics, is under myself, Eileen Carter. But I put the survey out everywhere because I just wanted to make sure that I reached as many people as possible, because I want to hear from you. I don't want to hear from just the elite in New Orleans. I think we hear from them enough. They do enough polls, and they don't poll us. They have enough private meetings, and they don't listen to us. And I can go on and on with that conversation, but you get my point. We appreciate that they're involved, but they're not listening to us, and we need to make our voices heard. So with that being said, thank you so much for tuning in to Faith and Politics. It's about to be 1:00, so we've been on here for an hour. So thanks so much for tuning in, and I will see y'all next week, Tuesday at 12. Make sure you're here. And you know what I am going to ask you? I'm going to ask you to do your part. I ask you to scan the city. I ask residents to scan the city this week. Scan the city. Look around, see what is going on in your neighborhood. What does your neighborhood need? What are your solutions? What are your ideas for New Orleans? We want to hear them. Faith and Politics want to hear them. If our residents are heard, we can see some action. And since our leadership doesn't want to hear from us, we're going to make sure that we do it together, and we're going to make sure our voices are heard. So doing it together, we can make a difference. So thanks so much for tuning in. Again, I'm Eileen Carter, and this is Faith and Politics. See y'all next week.